Hi, this is Janice from Wren Games, and you're listening to Tabletop Legends.
Legends of Tabletop.
Legends of Tabletop. Let's try again. You can clear that bit up. That's easy. Just yeah. I don't know why I always get words the wrong way around. There we go.
No worries.
Okay. Hi, this is Janice from Wren Games, and over in the UK, you are now listening to Legends of Tabletop.
Sweet, there it is. Welcome everybody to Legends of Tabletop. We have a special afternoon edition today with Janice, and she's over in the UK. She just finished dinner, and I just had breakfast about an hour ago. So welcome everybody. Thanks for coming by and checking it out. Thank you, Janice, for coming on today. How you doing?
Thank you for having me on, and I'm doing very well, actually. I'm recovering well from the UK Games Expo last weekend. Finally, actually, don't feel tired today.
Nice. No con crud going on, huh?
No, fortunately not, but just a slight exhaustion instead. Maybe that'll be next week.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest game conventions now going, right? I just saw an update on Twitter or something. They're like third biggest now.
Oh, they're definitely growing, and it's they're growing every year. I first went, they had like one hall. Then the second time went, they had 2 halls. They're now into 3 halls. They're growing really fast, but it still has the feeling of a smaller con. It's still quite personal and nice. It's a good one. I really like it.
That's cool. You guys have Dragon Meat as well, right? That's the other big one over there.
I've got Dragon Meat and Aircon, I guess, the 2 big ones. And then Tabletop Gaming Live started last year. So it's the Tabletop Gaming Magazine run one. So that's grew quite big for the first one, but it's still not as big as the other ones. It's much newer.
Cool. And I'm assuming you guys were showing off both Assembly and Sensor Ghosts while you were there?
Yeah, we were busy the whole weekend. We had like about a 30-minute period where we had no one at the stand over the 3 days. So I quite like that 30-minute period.
Right.
But it means it was an exhausting time, and we had some wonderful help this time. So it's only sort of our second time with a stand at UK Games Expo. But yeah, we couldn't have done it without our helpers. It was amazing to the difference it made.
Well, yeah, I mean, you get away and get something to drink and, just...
Not really, but it meant that I wasn't sort of split between 3 tables.
Well, there you go, yeah.
Because we always take our kids with us. So my husband normally is like looking after the 2 kids and comes back, or I have one of them around at the same time, and sort of splitting your time between introducing 2 different games, keeping an eye to make sure a toddler doesn't wander off, and making sure that the people sitting down and understand what rules they're going and they haven't got any problems is an interesting challenge. But with some help, it means that I could not have to worry about the people sitting down playing, and I just had to worry about the child and the people walking by who just wanted to find out a bit more, which made life a lot easier.
Nice. You had a lot of good feedback at the con?
Oh, we had lots of great feedback. It was quite exhilarating, really, probably because I'm so exhausted. This sort of adrenaline rush as people actually this time had heard of us and coming by and said, "Oh, I love your game. I've played it 35 times and I've won once," kind of thing. It was great. It was really, really nice. Compared last year, it was like really great because everyone enjoyed it, and this year it was great because people coming back and said, "I've played your game loads and I have your game," and it's like, wow, something I made, people are enjoying.
Nice, very cool. Now, is Sensor Ghost sort of set in stone, or are you still kind of taking feedback when you do, stuff like this, appearances at a convention? Are you still kind of compiling feedback at all, or no?
Yes, I am. If I find out something will make it better, it seems silly just to ignore it just because we're at this stage. I don't think it'd be sort of anything major, but sort of minor tweaks here and there. If it makes it better, it makes it better, and I'm all for that. Make the best game that we can. So we actually trialed a different 2-player variant. So we had a 3-player variant that we sort of made after it went out to all the previewers. It's not hard to get 3 players together for us, unfortunately. And we just had to think about it, that we really enjoyed it. Sort of playing the 3-player one. We played it a lot of times. We thought, I wonder if this could actually work for the 2-player version. And so we tried it at the con with several different people, and it was just so much easier to explain and so much easier to sort of grasp. It didn't have like the interesting complexity quite as much, but it was simpler. So we're actually thinking of now going down that avenue and then having the current version more as a sort of downloadable extra content as a different game mode. So yeah, it's a relatively minor change all in all, but it makes it more streamlined, and that's important.
Sure. No, both games, Assembly and Sensor Ghost, are essentially 1-player, 2-player games, right? I mean, you have sort of the expansion for 3 to 4, but at its core, it's more of a 2-player.
So yes, we design the games I design as a 1-player first. Then sort of once I've got the core base mechanics there, Stu sits down and we go through it. He tells me what's wrong, and then we start developing it into a 2-player game. So that's why a lot of people that have played Assembly say that the 2-player feels so different to the 1-player, and it's a different experience because it is a different experience. It went through a slightly different development process than the 1-player game. So that has, I guess, the highest level of playtesting in the 1 and the 2. Then we recently introduced a 3 and 4-player version of Assembly, and we actually really enjoy it. It adds a different layer of strategy to it as well. The questions you're asking for verification. For anyone familiar with Assembly, if you're not, they've no idea what I'm talking about, but sorry.
We'll get there.
Yeah. There's a great Jared of 3 Minute Board Games recently did one of Assembly. Go and watch that. It takes 3 minutes, 20 seconds of your time, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And then Sensor Ghost, we did again the 1 to 2 player, but we had a bit more time to do on the 3-player, and it works really well. So Sensor Ghost will be up to 4 players, and the 2, 3, and 4-player will have pretty much the same mechanic, but it is actually really fun. It's very enjoyable, and it's forced to be cooperative. It's not like you can just sit there and play the game on your own and just do what you're doing. We try to force you to actually engage and do stuff and have an impact on the other players. By what you do on your turn will have a direct impact on what someone can do on their turn.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to completely derail for a moment, and I'll edit this out in post. So when I'm speaking, I can see you in a little window on the bottom, but when you come up and Hangout switches over, the screen goes black.
Okay.
So I don't know what that is.
No idea. My screen here is saying, "Oh look, I've gone completely still."
Yeah, I don't know what's.
Have I frozen or something? If I do that,
I can hear you.
Have I disappeared?
Yep.
Have I come back?
Nope. So whenever you speak, the screen goes black.
I can see my little picture here has gone completely. Let me just switch the camera. I've got like a really awful little thumbnail down in the corner of me right now. Shall I hang up and come back in?
If you want to try it, although now that we can hear each other, I don't know if we want to risk it.
But if you stay here, it'll be fine.
Maybe. I figured I'd mention it. I don't know that it matters one way or the other, but I figured I would throw it out.
You're just not allowed to watch me talk, obviously. It's decided.
All right.
I've got the camera's there, the audio's there, default. The speakers are all working. I've no idea what it is, other than I seem to have frozen down in the corner.
We'll plow through.
If I had a different camera, I'd switch in and but I don't. Oh, sorry.
Nah, that's okay. That's all right.
Right, no, I have no idea where we are now. We're talking about 1 to 2 player, weren't we?
Yeah, we were talking about that. Yep. But
I think I finished.
Yep. We'll just keep plowing right on through.
Yeah.
Well, so you guys are fully funded because we're kind of hitting you sort of, kind of the middle of the Kickstarter here. So congrats on that. That's awesome.
No, it's fantastic. So on Assemble, it took us 10 days to fund, and this time it took us 5 days with a higher goal, which is, it's brilliant. We were over the moon to sort of get back home from the UK Games Expo on Sunday and sort of looked at their phones. It's like, wow, we're funded. And it's like, we just sent an email out quickly saying, yay, we're funded, but we're exhausted. We're really sorry. We'll send something out more exciting in a couple of days. We're just too exhausted at the moment. Yeah, because you basically have a 2-hour period at the end of the expo to pack everything up and go, and kids aren't allowed in the hall, and I did break down on my own, and then the 3-hour drive home. So yeah, it was exhausting.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean that's great, and it's not just, so we're not looking at just a Kickstarter for Sensor Ghost, but also for Assembly, and then 2 expansions for Assembly as well. So what was sort of the thought behind, like, hey, let's just kind of get everything going together? Is it just easier logistically to kind of offer everything all at the same time?
So it's a Kickstarter technically is for Sensor Ghost and a Assembly double expansion that will come in a single pack. But for anyone that hasn't already got Assembly, then obviously you can pick that up as well. The thinking behind it was, oh my God, I really don't want to run 2 Kickstarters in 1 year.
That's fair.
Yeah, and I thought probably it's the same audience. It may or may not, for better or worse. It's a lot of the things we do is about fitting around life and about it working for us. So last time we launched the Kickstarter campaign, not because we had all the right numbers of people and followers and everything else, but it was the right time for us, and we could put the best in it at that time. And it's the same here, running 2 campaigns with 2 young children and working. It's just too much, and I think it also it's just there's too many going out there. So I'd much rather people just pick and choose what they want from this campaign, and then you've also got the advantage of it all being done together in the same factory at the same time. It should all be hopefully ready for Essen as well. It just made a lot more sense. It's more efficient to get it all done together. It just made life a lot easier.
Sure,
exactly. And I'm all for making life a lot easier.
Right.
And we actually ran things round saying, would you prefer 2 separate campaigns sort of split apart or one together? And I said, we'd much rather one together. And I think a main driver for backers was shipping, because actually shipping is a considerable cost against the game, and the games are actually, well, at least our games are pretty light. And so putting 2 together is actually not really going to increase shipping very much, because it's still probably going to be like 3/4 kilo, 0.7 kilos or something. I have no idea what that is in pounds, sorry. But yeah, it's a really light package. So just having 2 of them is not going to be much, but it's that initial bit that's what costs money. So yeah, we ran some numbers, we thought about it, and it worked out, I think, best just to do it all together. And it felt really worrying to do it, because you have a higher goal, and then there's also, well, what if everyone wants one and not the other one, and that sort of thing. But we seem to have a relatively even split between the 2. So yeah, it's going all right, and I think we made the right call. And if we haven't, well, we'll live with it.
Right. Well, I think you guys are okay. You're already funded, so you're doing something right. Now, you guys manufacture in Germany, right?
Yeah, we do. I decided that it was a lot easier to manufacture in Germany. There's in the same time zone, and I got a lot of Chinese quotes. They was often slow to respond. They had all little extra bits and pieces hidden down at the bottom in the footnotes of the quote, which didn't actually then necessarily make them that much cheaper. And then you've got all the sort of the product testing and everything else with the German factory, that it comes with a certain degree of that already. And so there's just all these different sort of guarantees. It's faster, a lot faster. So we finished our first campaign in end of June last year, and the first backers got it in late November of the same year.
Nice.
And that was with about a between 4 and 6 week delay of me getting the files in, because I was in the car accident. Oh. So it was like a amazingly fast turnaround, really. And I think the last backers got it in the February, just due to, we had like a massive stock loss. 2 pallets of our stuff went missing. So
wow.
Yeah. So there was a slight delay in the last ones, that if whoever hadn't got their stuff sent out before the stock went missing, yeah, there was a bit of delay until it got found again.
Sure.
But yeah, we still got it delivered in well under a year.
Oh, nice. And I guess you guys have stricter like safety standards, like board game testing and all that kind of stuff. So I guess doing that in Germany then sort of kind of keeps you on the same field then, or the sort of the requirements and stuff similar across not just the UK, but the European Union then?
Yeah, so all the EU have what called CE marking for toys and games. So anything's aimed at audience of less than 14, or could be aimed at audience less than 14, requires CE marking and EN71. And the factories in Europe mostly have each set of components that they produce. They generally have a standard set. So rather than I design a box and they go and create a tool, they have a catalogue of boxes and they have all the tools and I pick the one I want. They have the inks and everything tested to ES71 on a regular basis on a batch level. So I know that I've got the certainty that what I'm getting is meeting ES71 because they're doing all the internal checks already.
Nice.
Yeah, so
much easier.
It makes life a lot easier, and it sort of gives me a confidence and that what I'm getting is all suitable and there's going to be no surprises. And it lowers risk. I mean, I'm a project manager in my background, and if I can lower risk, I mean, it costs a little bit more, but I think ultimately on a small box game like this, where I think Assemby is like 190 grams, and I think we're predicting that Sensor Ghost will be about 300 grams. The shipping from China, as it's that initial bed is quite expensive, but I just need a lorry from Germany now, and that's so much cheaper. It's like a tenth of the cost, that bit, and a small manufacturer run, that's a significant part of the cost.
Right. And excuse me.
Sorry, I'm getting all project manager here.
No, that's fine. And I'm interested in it because it's the kind of stuff that you don't really think about when you see something on Kickstarter and you're like, oh, that looks cool, I want to buy it. And they're like, oh, the shipping is this and that, and people complain. But to kind of sort of get some of this inside baseball and why decisions are made and how things are shipped and all that stuff. I as someone who plays games is interesting.
Yeah, and it's just like we get everything shipped to the UK and then we ship from the UK to worldwide because it's cheaper than sending a pallet to the US. I mean, I was looking at the USPS postal rates and stuff, and it's only like an extra couple of pounds more to ship from the UK than it is from within the US. And it's like, well, what's the point? Just ship it from the UK, because then you don't have the cost of sending a pallet as well of stuff and then paying for someone else to unload the pallet and prepare it all and have two different suppliers. If it was like 2 times, it would make a difference, but it's like maybe a 20% cost difference on the raw postage, excluding all the other costs around it.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Sorry, more project management stuff.
Well, I guess a nice thing too with the instability now with trade wars and other nonsense going on over here, I guess then none of that stuff affects you guys with current Kickstarters going on. We're friends with the guys over at Thing 12.
Instead.
Well, you do have that then, yeah.
So I've got all the sort of the complications about that. What happens? My biggest thing at the moment is if we exit the customs union, and I've just paid a load of VAT on stuff that I haven't delivered, and then I send it from the UK to the EU, they're going to get charged VAT again.
Yeah,
it probably won't happen like that because no one's going to be that organised and happen immediately. But there's all sorts of strange things that could happen. But as we manufacture in Germany, it's just get a fulfillment centre in Germany and ship the rest back to the UK that aren't going there. So because we're making in Germany, it means that it's a really simple plan B.
Yeah. And not to completely derail, but how is all that stuff going on right now? I only catch bits and pieces of it.
Brexit.
I see quite a bit of it on Twitter because we've got followers.
If I could bash my head against a wall, I would. It's awful. It's disappointing. It's just.
Is it still up in the air?
It's just sort of the politics all around it, and I'm sure we'll be a laughing stock in a year's time, if not sooner. So we just had European elections, and if you look at the Brexit Party's logo, they literally have Brexit and an arrow, so that right next to the voting box it was an arrow with Brexit next to it, and then the and party tiny. It was really, really clever graphic design, amazingly clever graphic design, but it just meant that it's just awful. But at least this time round, I actually got to vote for the party that I wanted to always vote for, and my vote counted. It's just because mostly it's first past the post here, and I know, get all political, aren't I? And yeah, the EU MEP election is sort of like more of a proportional representation. So it actually meant like your vote felt more like it counted because there's much more variety of the MEPs getting seats.
Okay, good.
But no,
Well,
I just want to bury my head in the sand for the Brexit and hope for it will blow over and some common sense will materialise at some point.
Fingers
That's my
crossed,
hope.
right?
I don't think it will happen, not with the new party leader who will be an unelected prime minister again.
Fantastic.
Yes. I prefer putting my head in the sand right now.
Yeah.
It's too depressing.
But that's what it's like here too.
Yeah.
It's just easier to turn the TV off and just kind of like,
Yeah, if we could get all the politicians together, put them on a rocket and shoot them into outer space. And infect them with a deadly virus, and none of them survived. That would be much better. The computer succeeds, perhaps, of Assembly.
Well, the crazy thing, like, all right, so we don't do politics on the show very much, but the crazy thing is, because of the way media works and social media works and stuff, they focus on the two extremes of either party or parties or whatever you have going on. But if you take people that disagree on whatever topics, you could set 95% of people down together and be like, oh, I don't like this and I don't like that. But just sit and have a conversation, you could come up with real solutions. And they just, they don't want that. It's crazy. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I know. It is really frustrating. But unfortunately, those extreme views are what gets media attention, and it's what makes it interesting, and it's all becoming more of a theatre rather than common sense, and also a bit of an ego trip, and about career rather than about what's best for the country. And that's more of why wanting to put the head in the sand is that it's the people and the way they're going about the politics rather than actually having a common sense approach. And yeah, that would be so much better. It would be a refreshing breath of fresh air if someone came and had like a common sense approach to it all and looked at what could be done and did a proper analytical, didn't lie. I'm dreaming.
That's most of it, right?
I'm just totally dreaming. But no, it's I was really motivated and interested in politics a number of years ago, and it's just been going downhill to the point that it's just depressing to listen to, in what's going on. But we've got to live with what happens and do what you can in the meantime.
Yep. All right. So censor ghosts, huh?
Yeah. Politics to censor ghosts.
So the interesting, the games are both games are really interesting. You have this sort of crazy puzzle based things that are shifting and you're selecting and shifting. So why don't you kind of give us a rundown on both of the games so people know what they're looking at when they hit the Kickstarter and they go and they order Censor Ghosts.
So Assembly is really hard to describe, but someone described it as like a Rubik's Cube in board game form. And I think that's probably the closest description I've got. It's essentially you've got, in the games we have like sort of a really simple premise, and then which makes it sound really boring, but then we put lots of theme and sort of strategy things on top. So in Assembly, you're literally getting the right token on the right card, but we were going to make your life difficult. It's not going to be easy. So there you go. That's my like 10-second pitch for Assembly. And it has an interesting circular layout as well, which always seems to catch attention. And the outline is basically you've got to build a spaceship to escape. And so the tokens are your parts of your spaceship or your remodules, and the cards your requirements, because I'm a project manager and you need requirements. And that's what your ship's going to look like, and you've got to somehow get it on there. But it's like everything moves or nothing moves, and you're limited by how much time you have. And obviously your requirements change in the middle of the game several times. Censor Ghosts, slightly easier to describe. It's a grid, which sounds really dull, and you've got to go from A to B. You've literally just got to get from A to B. But that's the dull bit. The interesting bit is if you think about space, it's moving. Stuff isn't stationary out there, and so the game reflects that in that things are moving. And then also that pesky computer from Assembly has managed to get on board and you're looking at your sensor screen and she's basically making you see a lie. And what you think is there isn't necessarily there. And you've got to work hard to actually work out what is there and remember what actually is there. And so you get to manipulate your environment, and you've got to create a safe path from the bottom left-hand corner of the grid to the top right-hand corner of the grid on the underneath side of the cards. But the cards can flip multiple times. But it's always what is currently on the underneath side that is what you interact with. And so the top is really basically a red herring at any one point. So yeah, you've got to create a safe path on the bottom of the cards, and you've got to go from A to B in a ever-changing, ever-shifting environment. And we have got some insta-death in there that some people like and some don't, but we're having easy mode, which means that you don't have to have insta-death in there if you don't want to. So we do like to have lots of scaling, lots of variety, lots of different things that you can do, rather than it just being, this is the game and you just play it this way all the time. It's like, this is the game. If you want to make it easy, do this. If you want to make it harder, do that. If you want some extra strategy, do this. And we do all these little bits and pieces just to try and make it have that longevity as well. And so you don't get bored of it.
Right. And it's that shifting. So you have a couple of memory cubes as well. So if you have horrible memory like I do, you can kind of tag, certain tiles to be like, okay, the backside of this one is terrible.
Yeah, it's like interesting that the cards, they have I call them a back and a front, because they are back and a front in setup, and then after that it's a top and a bottom really. So in setup you have a back and a front, and the backs are slightly different to the front. So other than the fact that the back is up pretty much a different card to the front, but you can tell which is the back of the card and which is the front of the card. So each time you flip it an odd number of times, you know you've flipped it. And so there's a real strategy about what you flip. And then all you have to do is remember your strategy, and then rather than the cards. Because if you do that, then you don't have to remember what every single card is, because you know which cards you flipped. And if you know what you're flipping and why you're flipping it, you know what those cards are. But there will be exceptions, which is when the memory cubes come in. So those exceptions of your memory card cubes, or at least in my book, that's my suggestion, is that those are your exceptions, or the really bad ones that you really don't want to go there. You get 3 of them, and they are single use in standard difficulty, and just 3 at any one time in sort of easy mode. But yeah, so they're there just to help with the exceptions, to absolutely minimize the amount of memory. And you very much chunk up in the grid as well. You're probably only looking at 2 rows ahead, 3 rows ahead at any time, and only a certain few cards. Whoops, there goes screen together. You're only looking at a few cards. So you're at any one time, I'd say you're not really interested in much more than 2 to 4 cards. And so in a 4-player game, that's 1 card each. In a 2-player game, that's 2 cards each. In a 1-player game, where you're probably going to chunk up a little bit slower, but you get a few extra cards to cater for that. So you're probably looking at maybe 2 to 3 cards, which hopefully shouldn't tax you too much, but just enough to make it interesting.
Cool. Had you guys planned on a follow-up to it? Like, usually, like something like Assemby will come out, and then it'll be like, okay, cool, this was good. And, we'll do some expansions, and we'll kind of like, play around in that universe a little bit more. But you like a whole new game as a follow-up, as opposed to just an expansion. Was that the plan all along, or did it just kind of like, come up organically after the first Kickstarter?
Yeah, it came organically, really. So a couple of the backers said, "Are you going to do a sequel to Assemby?" And we said, "Well, that'd be quite fun. That gives us a nice sort of concept and confines to design a game within." And given that they're sort of less than 30 minutes, they're not a huge burden either in terms of both design, playtesting, and just generally playing afterwards. So yeah, we just thought that was like a really good challenge. That set the boundaries, and it was something that was fun to do. But I also had a few ideas for an expansion for Assemby as well. But they're quite simple and small in terms of, I guess, the physical form of it, even if they've changed the game quite considerably. But yeah, it came up. They both came out, and we didn't really want to ditch either of them, so we just thought, let's do them both together then.
Nice.
why throw a perfectly good idea in the bin, or just delay it just for the sake of delaying it? Let's get it out there and move on to something else, because I have a very sort of strict thing that I try to, if I start something, I finish it, and I don't really want to have too many things on the go. And so either it's parked and it's not being worked on, or it's being worked on. And I'll have like sort of like one small sort of expansion thing and one game, I think, is more than enough. Otherwise, you just end up not finishing anything.
That's me.
Yeah, no, I used to be like that, and then I just basically I got my prototypes and I chose which ones to go forward with, and I parked all the rest, and they're in a drawer, waiting for attention, and I want to get onto them, but I'm not letting myself because it's just can't. It's just a time sink. I have to focus.
Yeah. It's too easy to get distracted with 100 other things.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fun as well. Those 100 other things, much more fun than what you're currently doing.
Right.
But yeah, no, I've wrapped them all up, and I've actively stopping myself working on them.
All right, and the art is really cool. It's vibrant, right? And it does kind of give you like a sense of claustrophobia, like you're sort of looking at like a space. I don't know, you call it a space porthole, I guess, where you can see like bits and pieces of things sort of like coming through like the sensor. That's a really neat aesthetic.
Yeah, so I wanted it to be, I mean, both the artwork and assembly is relatively distinctive. It doesn't sort of follow the path of most board games, and we wanted the same for Sensor Ghosts. And came across this artwork and absolutely loved it, and always also wanted a bit more of a Tron theme kind of feel to it as well, which is where the vibrant colours and the lines and that side of it comes from. It's sort of a mixture between ink and Tron, I guess, is the way to describe the artwork, and it seems to work surprisingly well. And given that it's all about having dodgy sensors, having something that isn't completely distinctive as in what it is being completely clear, but it being distinctive from all the other cards and you can see what it is yeah, it fits very well thematically, and quite pleased at how well it's turned out.
Now, are the colors in the game colorblind friendly, or do you have like little indicators, marks on the cards for people who may?
They should be colorblind friendly, but either way, we have icons as well, just to make absolutely sure. So we have found that the backs and fronts are not quite distinctive enough for colorblind at the moment, and we'll be putting them through the colorblind filters again before going out. So there'll probably be some more tweaks to the colors, and just probably make them a bit more vibrant than they currently are, and increase contrast and little things like that. But yeah, they will be colorblind friendly, and if all fails, there will be icons too. So yeah, we'll cover everything, because some people might just not be able to see it properly, but it is sort of partially sighted, and then at least if you've got the icon and they can see the icon, they can make that out, then they should be sorted.
Cool, very cool. Going back to the Kickstarter specifically, you have a couple of stretch goals up, and they're not really sexy, but the stretch goals for quality upgrade stuff, I just love on a Kickstarter so much. Heavier cards, thicker cardboard stock for tiles and things like that. It's not, hey, you're going to get 14 extra cards and you're going to get these minis and you're going to get all this stuff, but like you're going to get a better quality game. And I as a game player appreciate that so much more. So I'm glad.
So we've very much sort of like we can add lots of extra stuff in. I mean, we've got some other ones lined up, which will be like extra rolls and various other bits and pieces. And we've got a mini expansion that if we do really well, we can add into. If not, then it'll be this time next year it comes out instead. But yeah, the quality I think is important, and we could try and compete on lots of different levels. But I think as an indie publisher, quality is something that is worth being something to stand out for, and we like good game quality. I mean, our demo games, we take them there, we use them so that for the weekend I don't know how many times, but constantly for the 3 days, being handled by different people. All I need to do is take a baby wipe the back of them, and they're as good as new. I mean, what more could you ask for? If I can use a demo copy for hundreds of times over a weekend, how many plays are you going to get before they start looking a bit shabby without sleeving them? It's so it's important to us, and it's a way to stand out, and it feels good. And board games are tactile, and it's the nature of the tactile feeling in the game. So if you want it to feel good because you're interacting, you're playing with it, and that is part of the enjoyment process. But yes, you're right. They're not super sexy goals, but they're realistic. They make the game better for everyone, and doing exclusives is just ridiculously sort of expensive that it would just add so much to the campaign and complexity to the campaign that it's just, in my book, not really worth it. But again, it's like if everyone gets it or no one gets it, really. But as I said, we've got other bits and pieces lined up if we suddenly manage to take off and do really well. But in the meantime, we've got some interesting quality stuff lined up, which will enhance your overall experience of the game.
Cool.
And make it last for ages as well.
Right. Yeah, because it's the kind of thing like, I play with my daughter and boyfriend, it's kind of thing like, wow, these will all be yours someday, if you want them, of course,
Yeah.
But yeah, because it's one of those things that, it's like investing in books and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I do hardback books, right? Because they look nice and they last longer, and it's, it's just, it's a tactile feel, and it's just, I don't know.
but double-sided Robo Meeples, that's a cool stretch goal, isn't it?
Which was that?
Double-sided Robo Meeples, that's a cool stretch goal.
The Robo Meeples are so cool. Those little graphics are so neat.
So yeah, I have to sort of make sure they're absolutely perfect for the print and get the lines more right. But they're sort of like a draft design. But the sort of the second stretch goal is actually making them double-sided rather than single-sided. And there's a slight secret: if we go double-sided, we switch from ink printing to debossed, so where they actually impression into the wood, and that actually means that we can probably speed up delivery by about a month as well. So that actually is like a major stretch goal. It's not only double-sided, it's also an improvement in the quality of the meeple, and it also potentially increases delivery time, reduces delivery time. So that's actually quite big. I really want to get to that one because I want my little double-sided Robo Meeples.
That is very cool. So how much of your project management experience plays into the game side of things?
Into the game or the game manufacturer?
Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, overall, right? So not so much in the gameplay, I guess, but in dealing with Kickstarter and all that kind of stuff.
I think in terms of dealing with Kickstarter, because I did a lot of product management as well as project management. So I did a lot of the marketing side of things on sort of bringing something to life and filling it out. So I say it played a lot into it. I felt a lot more confident. I wasn't starting from nothing. And also, like, talking to manufacturers and suppliers was something I did loads already, so it didn't feel strange, and about specifying didn't feel strange, and learning all the terms. I think my first time around, the amount of card samples that I had was huge. Testing them all, looking at all for quality. No, this one's no good. This one's no good. Oh, this one's good. I like that one. So yeah, I got so many different card samples and ripped them all up and so on. But yeah, I think it plays a lot because it meant that I wasn't learning everything from scratch. I already knew how it worked, how to plan a project. And I had enough experience behind me that, as bad as this is to say, I could do it all on my head without writing too much stuff down. So I know exactly when things need to be delivered, exactly when things have to fall into place, exactly when one supplier has to deliver before so it doesn't impact the next one. And I can plan that all out very, very easily, very quickly without writing it all down. Whereas I guess a lot of people would be sort of still going through that phase. And writing things down is good. I'm not saying do it all in your head, but I often work a little bit better that way. Right. But in general, I can do that, and I can do it successfully because of the experience that I've got. So yeah, so like on Assembly, I worked, how many suppliers did I work with? It was probably 4 or 5 different suppliers I worked with on Assembly because we had lots of different pieces going together. I think it was at least 5 actually, and got everything in together, all right at the right time, sorted and up at the fulfillment centre, which enabled us to deliver for end of November. As I said, it was more the personal life that got in the way than sort of the professional side of things.
Yeah, because Kickstarter is a beast unto itself. So people, you get a designer that comes in, it's like, cool, I have this great idea. I want to bring it to Kickstarter and we're going to get this game funded and get it out to everybody. And then it's like, you've got to sort of wrangle this huge beast of Kickstarter, and you said dealing with manufacturers and all the other stuff. So yeah. I guess that can be intimidating someone who doesn't have a background that, sort of facilitates that a little bit.
Yeah. The marketing bit's probably the hardest. It's draining is the way to put it. I enjoyed it to a certain point, but it is definitely the thing I find most draining and most tiring. And it's like this time round, it's been a lot harder than last time. Sort of being on the social media all the time and that side of things. I mean, working 3 days a week and having 2 children that are both running around this time and not napping as much as I would like, it makes a huge difference as well. But that side of things is the side that I think I struggle with most, because I would much rather just sit in my bedroom and hide behind a computer than to be sort of tweeting all the time, because it's like, well, who really cares about what I have to say? Is sort of generally what I feel like most of the time. So that's like people always posting pictures of board games, what they played. It's like, why does anyone actually care about what I've played? It's like my feeling, my opinion, but you need to be pushing and doing that to get noticed. And so it's quite hard. That's why I think I prefer Twitter, because you can just do sort of random little thoughts here and there, and it feels more comfortable.
Right. And it is important, right, as a female designer, to have your voice out there and have your experiences and be visible, right? Because there's, sections of the community or whatever where, I guess that's a bad thing. I don't understand it, but, there is that element, I guess, that you do have. So it is definitely important for you to be out there and be visible and active, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely, and also just to sort of saying that anyone can do this. It shouldn't matter what your background is, what your gender is, what your beliefs are, or anything. It shouldn't matter. It should be really about your ability to do it and do the job that matters. And if someone's being held back because they don't feel that they fit in, it should really be about, is their design good enough, not about whether they fit in or not.
Right. Now, do you have any experience with that at all? Being, lead designer at a con, do people sort of like, push back, past you to talk to your husband and like, oh, you must have, designed these. Have you experienced anything like that or no?
I've been really lucky in the game community. No, it's been fantastic. In engineering community, oh, I've got stories I can tell.
I can believe it.
Yeah, no, I've said I normally cite as being confused as a PA when I was the technical lead and project manager at events, and that guy didn't get to live it down all night. I will say that. And it was only little gentle prods here and there, and it was very amusing watching him dig a hole as the realization sunk in that I was not someone's PA or someone's wife. But it was quite amusing. Oh,
nice. And how did you guys first get into gaming? What was sort of your introduction into the realm of board gaming?
Well, sorry, sir. I have a little person on my lap.
We can't see them though.
Yeah, sure. She doesn't speak yet. We're sorted. So in terms of gaming, I had lots of talking about it at work, people talking about it, and engineering, you get lots of geeks there and stuff. So I've been hearing about it and came home and said to my husband, what's all this about board games? And he said, lucky you said that, there's one arriving tomorrow. So I'm not quite sure where he'd heard about it, but he's like always was on the internet and stuff, and listening and looking at things. So it's just happy starts that it happened at the same time for both of us.
Okay, that's cool. And what was the first game that sort of got you guys involved? Does anything stand out?
The first game was Pandemic. So cooperative games, and we almost exclusively now use cooperative games. Play cooperative games. So you get my wording right. So Pandemic was the first one. Absolutely loved it. That was like the next 3-4 months of our life, and getting every Pandemic expansion we could. And then we sort of slowly progressed on to Flashpoint, and we played a bit of Dominion, which stayed into our collection for a while, but then sort of shifted out again. But yeah, we realised that cooperative games were what we liked. I think another early one was Dungeon Pets, which we still really like, and is a bit of inspiration for our games in terms of having story, not just theme. Is probably the way to put it. And really, really loved all the sort of the rich environment that it's designed in, that even though we rarely play it now, it's still one that I'm very fond of. But yeah, that was how we got into it, and over time collection has grown, and almost now exclusively cooperative games. I say less than 10% of our collection is competitive, and we're now moving a bit more, I think. So we went to sort of the gateway games, then went to the more complex ones, and now we're back to sort of the under 60-minute ones, because that's just what life is like at the moment. So maybe we'll go back to longer ones again in the future, but I think it's a few years out yet.
Yeah. Games that play in under an hour are perfect. I play at work quite a bit, and we just jam all of our breaks together, and we'll take a long lunch and play. So stuff that plays under an hour is just like such a great time frame.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, it's just if you're tired in the evening, you can just fit it in, or if it's pretty quick, it's like before dinner, after dinner, while the kids are napping. Really important time. Yeah. That's where the game design happens, in nap times.
Right.
But yeah, it just makes sense. And if you're waiting for some other people to come, or beginning of a night, end of a night, or if you're just not feeling up to it, it's just where you can do something and play something. But if you're not quite ready or up to, or have the time for something longer.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite games of all time are Time Stories and The Seventh Continent, but they're sort of things that take an entire evening or half day to play, so they don't come out very often, but they are my top 2 games of all time.
Okay, interesting. How is it? I mean, do you guys just not? Is the aesthetic of a competitive game not really something that you're into? Like, I find it interesting that you do almost 100% co-op, because I'm just such the opposite.
I'm too competitive, you see. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I say my Stu, he likes to play a game just for the experience and not necessarily to win. I play a game to win.
Yeah.
Those two sort of things really clash. But at the same time, I don't like being mean. And then given that we mostly play 2-player games, in a competitive game, you are directly be competing with the other player, and you're directly doing something to be mean to the other player potentially. So if it's a game that isn't really got take that, or where your strategy to win is to basically screw over the other player, then that's not so bad. So that's why Dungeon Pets kind of still fits in there. And it's like Galaxy Tracker and sort of those light-hearted things where you're not deliberately trying to screw over the other player works kind of okay. But again, it works okay at 3 players. I don't mind doing competitive. So we started playing Azul more recently, and that works quite nicely at three players and above, because if you're just looking after your own interest rather than directly trying to screw over the other players, then it's kind of like, oh, well, look what I've been left with. What on earth have you done? It's more of a laugh. But yes, we do enjoy the odd competitive one, but definitely higher play counts. And we don't generally have higher player counts. So we go cooperatives as 2 players. And we really enjoy that shared experience of trying to solve a problem together and succeeding or failing miserably.
That's so interesting. I don't know that it would scratch the itch for me. I do hardly zero co-op gaming. And we do a lot of 2-player, play with a guy at work. I play with my brother and play with my daughter. We do a lot of 2-player stuff, and it is a lot of take that sort of, abstract strategy kind of stuff, and so good.
I guess it's for some and not for others, but for us, we find that it's a shared experience of working together is more of our camp.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I mean, all kinds of games for all kinds of people.
Indeed, yeah, and cooperative games are quite interesting. It's it's quite interesting. Assembly, it's like you're directly impacting what happens to the other player to actually make their turn harder and stuff by the actions you do on your turn. So I think there's sort of the competitive nature when sometimes people are playing. There's like I think I had one friend play and he thought it was a competitive game. For some reason, he wasn't hugely into games, and he kept making the other person lose cards. And it's like, you realise you're going to make us lose the game by doing this. And he said, "What? We're working together." Yes. Yeah. Oh, oh dear. I completely missed the point that they were working together. I was like really excited by screwing the other player over constantly, not realizing that ultimately it was going to affect him as well. It was right. Quite amusing.
That's great. Do you guys do any RPGs at all or no?
No, we've done not really RPGs. We have done a couple of mega games, which I guess is more like live RPGs, and we've loved those. But again, it's about finding a whole day where we can abandon 2 children and go and have fun ourselves. It's a rarity at the moment, but yeah, we've loved the mega games.
Sure. All right, and do you guys have anything coming up that you're working on? Anything you'd like to share?
What are we doing at the moment? No, I think at the moment it's like get over this Kickstarter, get it all to manufacture, get it sorted. As I said, finish what I'm doing. I've got ideas for the next game. I'm sort of debating whether it would be more of a dice-based one, probably a third in the sequel, or to go for something a bit simpler. I've not decided yet, but I've got a mechanic that I really, really want to try and do, but I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to do. But I'm keep pushing it back because I need to get what I'm working on finished. Mustn't be distracted is basically what it is. Mustn't be distracted. But I just sort of look out for us again, sort of early spring next year. I'm sure we'll have another one going at then. It'll be a sequel or an expansion to what we've currently got, and it'll be thematic, obviously.
Sweet. Well, we'd love to have you come on again in the spring then when you have a new Kickstarter going.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll get it all. This one will be released to retail sort of early in 2022.
Nice. Very cool.
And there's little grunting from a little person that joined us and pulling on all the cables, which is now everything's falling on the floor. Don't pull the laptop off. How has my headphones got caught up? Yes, what's going on? No, she's not pulling the headphones off the head yet. She's quite happy watching.
Right. All right. Well, we want to encourage everybody to check out Censor Ghosts on Kickstarter. There's about 20 days left as of this live recording. So please go and check that out. We want to support independent game designers and cool, interesting stuff that they're doing. So please go and check that out. I want to thank Janice for coming on, just getting a chance to talk about the Kickstarter and just kind of get to know you and find out what you guys are doing. This is the fun part for me, is just to hang out and talk about games and game design and just meet new people. So this is a lot of fun for me.
Sorry, I have a giggling child on my lap trying to grab the microphone and finding it hilarious as I try to pull it away. I'm guessing Totoro, it got a bit too boring, did it? No, you don't speak yet. Luckily. Otherwise there'll be a jabbering child into the microphone.
Right.
Hey. Right, yeah.
Go ahead.
She's very distracting.
I had a cat on my lap for a few minutes, but he's not nearly as distracting.
No, I just put some stroking rather than trying to steal the microphone and everything else.
Right.
Right. So yeah, I guess, is it worth mentioning social media and where to find me?
Yes, there are some links in the show note, but go ahead and throw out whatever links and things, bits and bobs you want to throw out.
So if you want to say hi or see what I'm up to, you can follow me on Twitter. I mostly tweet under Dravin, which is DRAVVIN, but you also find me at Wren Games across all the social media platforms, so Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I don't keep this quite update quite as much, but yeah, I'm there. Any questions? Want to say hi? Or just want to see what I'm up to? Come and check them all out.
Cool. Awesome. And there's links in the show notes, so please follow those. Go check out Censor Ghosts. It's fully funded, so there's no worry about whether or not you're actually going to back something that may or may not get funded. You're already there, so you're assured to get an awesome game. So please do that. Go ahead.
Okay, and if you haven't got Assembly yet, you can get that through the Kickstarter as well. So obviously you can get whatever we've previously produced straight through the Kickstarter.
Oh, and let me throw in as well, because I forgot to earlier. The playmats look amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, those. I've never done any graphic design before Assembly, so I did all that sort of stuff myself. So I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out, and there's definitely been an eye catcher at cons. The Assembly playmat, the Santa Ghost one looks pretty cool, but it's not quite as eye catching. So I need to make a change there. It's perfectly thematic, which is probably the problem. Space is a bit dark.
Right. No, they definitely look cool. It's definitely the add-on for sure.
Yeah, no, they're going to be they're going to be perfect. I think. I mean, the Sense Case one will be as perfect as the Assembly one, and the amount of comments we get on that one, and just like people stopping and looking, is pretty amazing.
Cool, awesome. Well, again, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing what you have going on with us. And I wish we could see your daughter. Is it your daughter?
Yeah.
I wish we had her on screen so people could see the overload of cuteness that's probably going on right now.
She's currently trying to my watch on.
That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Cool. Well, thank you again. We are also on all the social media platforms, so you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. Just put Legends of Tabletop into your Google machine there, and you will find us. Please check out the sponsor, Birds of a Feather Coffee. We have the legendary brew. Birds is a small batch. Well, I should know it by now. Small batch craft coffee roaster. You're gonna get, if you order the legendary brew, it's roasted to order. Oh my God, I think the baby's eating the microphone.
She is. She's pulling at it and actually trying to make a noise into it. She doesn't do noises on demand for anyone. She's 19. She's 19 months old.
Oh, such a fun age.
And she's currently trying to stuff the microphone into her face. Oh dear, you slobbered all over it. Excellent. Thank you very much, Sam.
Nothing a baby wife can't handle.
Yeah, or a spare sock that's just lying around.
There you go. So please check out the sponsors. If you use code LEGENDS10, you're going to get 10% off your order. Shipping is always free with Birds Coffee. You could also use that code on the other Birds Coffees, the Night Owl Blend, the Hummingbird, the Morning Lark. So please check that out. Again, thank you to Janice for coming on, and thank you everybody for checking this out, and we'll catch you next time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely.